Welcome to another exam technique video or series of videos. This one is focused on paper 1, section A and question 4. Just the usual guidelines. Make sure you don't have your phone away, or if you're using a desktop, do close your tabs. Minimize your distractions, that's crucial. Have a pen and paper. Absolutely make sure you pause the video when I tell you to, and you see the pause sign to complete the activities. And then after you have you finished the lesson and done your work, make sure to review the material at a later date. So I thought I'd challenge you this morning that without even going into the question for your technique, I'm going to give you some time now to fill in the blanks. Again, I'd recommend writing it down, and do this by pausing the video now and then playing when you're done. So hopefully that you got down most of those correctly. Just to run through it, and there is a bit of debate here about how long that you spend on question 4, but I would say 4 to 5 minutes, and I'll explain that later. The command words, a phrase you should be used to in this question is describe, and you need to describe 2 separate points. Number 3 is basic. It's for every question you have. The topic is found in the question tail or at the end of the question. And remember, this is where students fall down most. They don't understand the question tail. Finally, for question 4, you must provide precise own knowledge. Okay, this is not a source question or interpretation. It's purely based on your ability to demonstrate your historical knowledge. So how do we answer questions? The format is the same for a lot of questions. It just depends on the actual type. By format, I mean the step-by-step. So the format of the question, sources, your interpretations, which number it is, all of that is really important. And I spoke about that in your previous videos, or you'll see that in other videos. Once you've actually grasped the format, and here it's question 4, you need to think about the command. Okay? And we know that in this question, the command is describe. Okay, now those 2 steps are the basics, but people do get them wrong. Once you've done that, then you can spot the tail of the question. And then it's about how you demonstrate or apply your knowledge. Okay, now these 4 steps can be used with any question you'll see. It's just very important that you understand that they change depending on the type of question. So let's break these down a bit further. Format, what do we mean? We mean these 3 things. Okay, question 4, it's worth 10% of the paper. Now that's exactly why, and you'll see at the bottom there, I've said probably do it last. Okay, but the middle bit's also very important. Just because it's short, it doesn't mean that you can actually not be precise. So precision is really key with this question, especially if you're not going to take up too much time. The next one, the command word. Well, we touched on this before. You describe. So describe's different to the word explain, which you hopefully understand. But describe, you're laying out the features or characteristics. That's how the exam boards see it, laying out the features or your characteristics. Okay. Secondly, you need to have separate points, 2 separate points, as I'll explain, as you'll see later. I think thirdly, the really important way to make it easier for you and the examiner is signpost. Firstly and secondly, okay, every time, and therefore you'll be signposting your 2 separate points. We then move on to the tail of the question. Now, I touched on the fact that the topic is key here, but I'd say two other things are really important, and this came up in the previous exam series. Students not knowing the chronology of the topic. So, for example, if it was asking about women in the 1920s in America, that would be different from women in the 1960s in America. So try to spot the chronology. The third point is the concept. Okay, now in basic terms, this is it a cause? Is it an effect? Okay, or it could be something like a change, but that should be clear by the tail of the question if you look carefully. Finally, we move on to knowledge. Okay, now yeah, I said that there need to be 2 points. You also need 2 bits of knowledge in each of those points. Okay, that is the best way to maximize the chance of showing that you've got a developed point. Again, the knowledge needs to be precise and specific, can't be generalized. And finally, it sounds obvious, but it has to be your own because you're not taking it from a source or interpretation. And there's no support except what you know. That's why having it in your long-term memory is so crucial here, because you can't hide if you don't know it. Okay. So to kind of summarize then, just to finish off, here are 4 things you should do in your question 4. Some of them are correct, some of them are incorrect. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video in a second and either point to or say, or if you want to write down, which of those is correct and which of those is incorrect. Right, hopefully that you got those right. As you remember, this is not about spending too much time or making too many points, so you can see 1 and 4 are wrong. It is about those other sort of crucial things. Okay, recognize the tail of the question, provide precise depths or your knowledge, dates, events, people, places, and or statistics, and also but consider doing last, which is a kind of wider point about the exam, but worth thinking about. Thank you very much for watching.